All right, everybody, welcome back to another professional picks video talking about the playoffs again, this time the divisional round after a great wild card round of the playoffs. You got me, you got Sliwa. We're talking about all the divisional round games coming up. Let's get after it.
Yeah, as
Obviously,
always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Just like all the extra interaction. Got a couple games or a couple weeks left here in the season, so let's finish this off strong. But for our first game that we have on the slate, we have the AFC matchup with the Chiefs coming off the bye, and then you got the Jags who just had one of the craziest playoff comebacks I've seen. And I honestly turned the game off at halftime, like many other people did. I mean, it's tough to win when you throw four interceptions and a half, but also very impressive that
mhm.
you're still able to pull it out. At the same time, a lot of that also is just like Brandon Staley's an awful NFL head coach and he needs to be fired.
Remember,
So
I said in
there's
that
a lot
last
of different
video.
ways. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could look at that one, but regardless, impressive win. The Jags have a real offense. Trevor Lawrence has progressed. All of that. Um, Chiefs, though, I mean, number one seed for a reason. They've won this matchup previously by 10 points, so the spread makes some sense here. The Jags are playing a little bit better, so um, take it down a point and a half. But I think the two biggest things for me here, I'm personally leaning on the Chiefs side for this one, is Andy Reid, all time in his career, is 28-5 off of a bye week. And with just Mahomes, he's 9-1. Like they're even better as of late. And I don't see them losing in the divisional round, especially after that disappointing, or not disappointing, but yeah, disappointing conference championship loss last year. I think they're going to at least get back to that game. And I don't think it's going to be that close either because they just saw what happened in the Chargers game. I really have a hard time seeing them letting up on the gas. And on top of that, the Jags are also awful at guarding the tight end position. Give the third most yards in the NFL to the tight end position. So Travis Kelce should just have a heyday. What do you think, Woj?
Yeah, I think you made some great points. I want to say the last video, I did say that, and it's a hot take, still probably is, but gets a little more validity now. Said Brandon Staley will not be the coach of the Chargers at the end of next season. I don't think he's a good coach. Good coaches don't blow 27-point leads. And there's a lot of other factors that point to him being a bad coach, but that's just one of them. It's another point in my favor of saying that. Moving on to this game, yeah, I like a lot of things you said. Chiefs certainly aren't going to lose this game. It's just a question now of are they going to cover or not. I'd be shocked if the
Right.
Jaguars go in. Like you said, it wasn't a disappointing loss to the Bengals last year in the AFC Championship. They had a big lead at halftime, much like the Chargers did against the Jags. Not to the same magnitude, but they blew that game against the Bengals, and they're certainly hungry too, just like the Bills are after their loss against the Chiefs last playoffs. I don't. I think the four interceptions for Trevor Lawrence is very telling about his maturity and development as a quarterback. This is still his second year, and now he's going into one of the more decent football dynasties with an amazing coaching and quarterback combo, but also a good defense too, especially in the secondary. So if Trevor Lawrence is going to even make half the same mistakes that he did against the Chargers, the Chiefs are going to capitalize on them. The Chiefs are going to score points quickly, and the Chiefs defense is going to stay strong and not let up. Same with the offense. I like the Chiefs here minus 8.5 because I just think that they're on a completely different tier than the Jaguars, and they're not going to make mistakes. And I think that's really key in the playoffs, especially being at home. I think that minus 8.5 is a really good spot. Honestly, I thought it'd be a little bit more in favor of the Chiefs. It is a playoff game, and that means the Jags certainly should be coming to play. But you would have thought that in the wild card, and then they got down 27-0. But nonetheless, playoff games tend to be closer than normal, and that makes sense. But I think if the Chiefs are going all out and the Jags are going all out, then the Chiefs are going to win by a lot. I just don't
Yeah.
think they're on the same level, and I
Yeah.
think part of that's the inexperience of the Jaguars and the experience of the Chiefs too. So that big comeback win definitely makes up for a lot of lack of experience. Now that everyone in that Jags locker room is saying, we could beat anything, beat anybody, we can do anything after coming down 27. And it's good to have that confidence, but it's a lot different beast when you're playing Kansas City, who's well coached and well positioned in basically all aspects of the football field.
Yeah. Did you hear Trevor Lawrence? said that he doesn't imagine that Arrowhead should be much louder than Jacksonville was in the wild card game.
You can't be saying that. I did not hear that. You can't be saying that stuff, even if
I,
it's
I
not,
don't think he
even if
meant
it's
it
true.
like that, but yeah, now
Just
it's
don't be
like
saying.
getting blown up, like
Don't
taken
give
out of context.
these guys material. Yeah, they're just gonna be apt to. It's gonna be louder now than like even if it's gonna be louder just because you said that. Like you're not helping yourself
Right.
by
Yeah.
say it after the game.
Yeah.
But
You
interesting
just won
play.
a wild card, but all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Next up, we got the other now the NFC team coming off the bye, number one seed overall. Eagles dominated all regular season. Really looked like the most complete football team. And yes, they had a couple losses towards the end of the season, but that was with Gardner Minshew under center. Could put some asterisks next to those. Like honestly, all season, Jalen Hurts only really has one loss on the year, and they've absolutely dominated this matchup too. Blew them out the first time. They're winning 19-3 the second time, but Davis Webb was in at quarterback. They scored like a garbage time touchdown. I think there's something there in the sense that the Giants kept it a little bit closer the second time around. And then it's also very tough to beat a team three times. So I do think it's going to be closer, and it's trending slightly in that direction so far. Um, Giants, I think the biggest just matchup here is like the Giants clearly want to win on the ground. I watched that Giants versus Minnesota game last week, and like it's either a handoff to Saquon, a dump off to him in the backfield, or Daniel Jones is running it. And other than that, they pass it maybe once every 4 or 5 plays. Makes very timely throws, but it's going to be the Giants' offense versus the Eagles' front seven. And if the Giants can put up points and stay in this game, I still don't really maybe even think they win, but I think they keep it close enough to cover the 7.5, lose by a touchdown. You still get the hook. What do you think, Woj?
Yeah, this is a tough spot for me to try to pick this game because, I've been saying it all season long. The Giants aren't a good football team, but yet here we are talking about them in the divisional playoffs.
Right.
And I guess they are good. I
It's
guess they're
fun
a
to
good
buy
team. They know how to win. They're not that talented, but they know how to win with what they got. And that's a very big testament to Brian Dable, what he's been doing there. Because prior this roster isn't all that different from what they had last year. Difference is the head coach and he's producing. So hats off to him. But obviously the Eagles are so talented, and it's hard to see them. Letting a team like the Giants stick around with how much talent discrepancy. It's like the Chiefs and the Jags. Ton of talent discrepancy between these two teams. That being said, like you mentioned it too. You get a time to play these guys the third time this season. It's always closer than you would probably think. Look at the Ravens and the Bengals just last week. The Ravens had the Bengals on the ropes, if not for that goal line fumble, scoop and
it. Yeah.
score.
Oh my God.
Even the
Even
Dolphins,
the third stringer in.
yeah,
Yeah.
even
With both
Thompson.
cases, they're both very close with backups
Mhm.
in.
Exactly. So, and I think that's, people don't give enough credit to what coaching can do for a team. You get film on these guys twice in a season, you're playing them a third time. These coaches are going to be able to make adjustments with their players who are, all incredible athletes. Some are just more so than others, but you get the right brains in place to make the adjustments. You can overachieve with maybe suboptimal talent. That's really what the Giants have been doing all year. So I agree with what you're saying. I will not be surprised at all if the Eagles blow these guys out. But it being the third time that these two teams are playing this season, and given how I guess how well the Giants have played, given their talent and coaching, I like the hook here too. I also think that the unders are a good pick here too, because I think the only way the Giants do stay in this game is to keep the Eagles to a low scoring total. The Giants aren't going to compete in this game, win this game, or keep it close if it's a shootout, right? So if we do think the Giants is plus 7.5 is a good bet, you should also be thinking it's under 48.5 is a good bet too, because the Giants aren't going to score more than 21 points this game. Like 28, 21 would be just the killer, but 28, 20, 27, 20, these are the kind of scores that I'm predicting I could see this game. Anything else, it's an Eagles blowout.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I think there is a lot of reasons you bias going into the Giants here. They started the season off hot, got really cold, and then kind of picked it up again towards the end here. And
Mhm.
I'm definitely thinking a lot about their wild card win over the Vikings, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess I just believe in Brian Dable,
I
and
guess it's time to stop not believing him. I mean,
at the same
can't.
time, they probably won't win the game. or they really probably shouldn't at
I
all. But
would be amazed. I almost want them to. I really,
I feel like it's just like a backdoor cover type of line. Like
yeah.
it's
I
probably
think
not
that's a
even going
good
to be
point.
that close, and then they just
Backdoor cover, I can totally see. Like the thing is, like I say, I almost want the Giants to win. It'd be funny, but the last thing I want to do is see like a Giants Niners NFC Championship where the Niners win 17-3. Give me a little more entertainment. Niners Eagles would be so entertaining. I think we'll talk about it next week when that
yeah,
happens.
yeah. No, that would be a great matchup. Two of
A
like
strong feeling. Let's go.
similar, but all right, we'll move on. Next up, probably the game I'm looking forward to the most, or honestly, the next two games I'm looking forward to heavily. But yep, we got the
That's
under
good
that Woj
football.
mentioned, but we got Bengals heading to Buffalo, and biasly we mentioned this the previous week, but I'm on the Bengals. I have my preseason future on them, so
And
it's
mine's on the
I've
Bills.
been on them the entire year. So I just want to start off with that here. And I thought my first real note here was especially after watching the Bills play the Dolphins is if Josh Allen's turning the ball over, like I think that's gonna be their real kryptonite, and it has been all year. But I was looking at the stats, and Burrow has actually thrown 12 picks this year too, a little bit quietly because I don't think people talk about it as much. But
Mhm.
the thing with Burrow is he always shows up when in the important games, in the important moments. I was also looking at like fourth quarter stats, and Burrow's just absolutely blowing Josh Allen away in pretty much every category: touchdowns, interception ratio, yards, like passing completion percentage, just across the board. Burrow's been way better in the fourth quarter than Josh Allen. Burrow hasn't lost in January. I can't bet against him in the playoffs from what I've seen. Consistently been the underdogs too. It's not like they're the favorite every time. Last week they were, but last year's playoff run, a lot of upsets. I don't know. I think the Bengals match up well, especially with the Bills secondary, kind of taking a step back this year. The Another random stat, but the Bills play press coverage second most in the league. They played 80% of press coverage last week against the Dolphins, and the Bengals have two receivers, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. They're both top seven in the NFL against press coverage. So you got two guys in the top seven against a team that presses pretty much the whole game. Burrows should be able to light them up. The over probably looks pretty good here too, but I like the Bengals a lot.
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about the over, but now that you say that, that looks pretty. That looks like a pretty good number. And it's funny you said like your preseason on the Bengals. I was preseason heavy on the Bills, and it's funny because I think the Bengals win this game too, which sucks for my bets. But just in the short time these two teams played earlier in the season, I thought that it seemed pretty early on to me, unless anything changed, the Bengals were going to win that game. They definitely looked better. And what's changed for the Bills for me and my outlook on them since placing that preseason bet is their offense. It's basically what I predicted. Josh Allen's going to make turnovers. I had a feeling he'd throw at least one in the Dolphins game, despite not mentioning in the video, which I should have. But he's definitely he likes to sling it. He makes ambitious throws, and sometimes they get picked up. But his other play overcompensates for that, anyways. What's really changed for this Bills team is how their defense is played. Skylar Thompson should not be making me scared that the Bills are going to lose in the wild card round. This stuff shouldn't be happening. This Bills defense, while has so much talent, great guys and playmakers, just has not been playing up to the sum of their parts. Honestly, they're I don't know what it is, and I haven't watched it enough to really diagnose it. But especially in the secondary, it seems like it's not they're not all working as a cohesive unit, or it's just not all working out despite how much talent they have, and even good coaching too. Like Leslie Frazier is a good defensive coordinator. They have Sean McDermott's a good defensive head coach, and it's really surprising me. So I think if the Bills were, as good as their roster says, we're talking just on paper, yeah, the Bills win this game. But from what I've seen from these two teams, I like the Bengals here. And I think the Bengals match up with a team like the Bills very well, much like how they match up with the Chiefs well. The Bengals were, I think, a 1.5 point underdogs against the Chiefs. And I had a really strong feeling they were going to win that game because it's not often you see the Chiefs that low a favorite. And whenever they are, they usually lose that game like they did to the Bills earlier this season. The Bengals match up against teams that not a big run heavy team like the Bills. Josh Allen's certainly going to do his thing, but they don't want to run the ball between the tackles with a traditional running back. They want to pass the ball a lot. Bengals do really well playing bend don't break defense, forcing field goals, getting the ball back into Joe Burrow's hands and letting him score touchdowns with his myriad of offensive weapons here. So I think Bengals plus 4.5 is a great number. I can't believe it's not like this number to me should be 2.5, 3. I think these two teams are really even. I think it's going to be a really good game. And, the press coverage thing, I didn't even know about that. But, yeah, you can't press Jamar Chase. I mean, Stevens is great.
Yeah.
You cannot press Jamar Chase. Bills going to have to make an adjustment. They
I
have to
think
make it.
Jamar Chase is number 2 in the NFL against press.
Yeah,
If
he's
T.
too
Higgins was number
quick.
7.
His first step off the line is like you can't press him because you're not gonna get your hands on him. He's gonna give you a shimmy and go right by it, and then his top speed is so much he's gonna blow right by it right after. The second he gets a step on you, he's gonna blow past you. You can't do that. So I'll be intrigued to see if they keep pressing, but my guess is they kind of have to go away from that
Have
at
to
least
adjust.
80% a game. But again, I like the Bengals to win this game. Honestly, I like the over here. I think it's a tight game. Last second field goal, I could definitely see, or 2 minute drive for sure. This game's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be one of the best games of the season, I hope. But I do
Yeah, I really
think,
hope.
fortunately, the Bills win this game. For my bets, I fortunately think the Bills are going to lose this game.
Yeah, no, I mean,
One of us is going to be happy. That's good, I guess.
we'll find out. But all right, last game on the slate, and the second best, maybe the best game of the weekend, up for debate. But historic matchup. You got the Cowboys going to the 49ers. I mean, obviously, the Niners, since they got Brock Purdy, they've been rolling. And they announced that they're sticking with Purdy throughout the playoffs, even if Garoppolo is cleared to play.
I didn't know that.
Uh,
I love that.
yeah, they announced. I love it too. I mean, he's been winning every game since
Hasn't
he.
lost a game. How do you
Yeah,
post that hasn't lost?
yeah. Like
It's
make
fun.
any argument you want, but I mean, he's a very similar player to Garoppolo, and he's playing much better. There's no real reason to go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a lot of people were talking about the Cowboys with Dak having like NFL leading picks, but they looked great against the Buccaneers. Take it for what it is with how bad the Bucs were all season, but the offense did move. They put points on the board. My biggest takeaway from that game is like I'm not scared of the Cowboys. Like that probably shook some of the rust off for me. But the biggest thing is that I feel Brett Maher, the kicker, he missed like I don't know how many it was, like 4 or 5
Yeah.
extra points. Like in a close game here, that's saying it's going to be decided by a field goal. If you're coming down into it in a close one, because I don't see the Cowboys. My thing is I don't see the Cowboys blowing out the Niners. I could see
No.
the Niners blowing out the Cowboys, but of all things, I think it's gonna be pretty close. And if close games gets into special teams, and I just you can't trust the Cowboys right now. Um, they did say they were sticking with Meyer; he's their guy, but that was pretty crazy to see just how bad he got the yips.
Yeah.
What do you
Hard to
think?
pull a kicker in the playoffs. More so hard to insert a backup kicker for the first game in the divisional round. So tough there. But I think that if anything, the best bet here, just to completely pivot, is the under here. We all know the Niners are the best points per game defense in the league, one of the best units we've seen in recent years. The Cowboys, when they're getting pass rush pressure from Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, they're one of the better defenses in the league as well. I think that, along with Dan Quinn's been doing great with that unit and defense. If they are going to keep this game close, again, like you said, the Cowboys will not blow out the Niners. You just can't. It's the defense is too good to get blown out, and quite honestly, so if they're going to compete, it's going to be a low scoring game, which I could see. I don't see the Cowboys putting up a ton, but I could see the Niners doing it. That being said, I think the Cowboys defense shows up enough to keep this one close, and it is Brock Purdy. I know he keeps winning, but it's Brock Purdy in the playoffs. Like I level your expectations a little bit here. Let's not forget about on the offensive side for Dallas. This is the quarterback, Dak Prescott, that led the league in interceptions while missing plenty of games this season. You're going against a defense in the Niners that I said it last week too, that just loves to create takeaways. They're flying around the field, and this is a 49ers team that all they got to do to win, and it's what they've been doing the past 10 plus weeks, is not commit turnovers. This is a Dallas team that has struggled when they can't force turnovers to win games because Dak Prescott and this team is so prone to committing them on offense. Again, like I said last week, not, and this is what the Niners formula really has been this season: win the turnover battle and win the game. And I expect it to happen. I also expect the Cowboy offense to be overwhelmed with how good this defense is, and I don't see a lot of points for the Cowboys in the sense that we're used to. And I expect the Niners to win this game by more than 3.5. I'd say they win it by 4 or 5. That's probably due to what you mentioned too, the kicking problems for the Cowboys. I honestly I could see the Niners blowing the Cowboys out. I don't think the Cowboys are all that great. I mean, you saw them struggle against the Washington Commanders, almost messed up there. Washington Commanders in Week 18. Like these guys, they have a lot of weaknesses. And if there's going to be a team to exploit your weaknesses, it's going to be the Niners with Kyle Shanahan on offense and D'Amico Ryans on defense. Like these guys are masterminds of what they're doing. I expect a low-scoring game if it's close. If it's not, I expect the Niners to blow them out. Either way, I think this -3.5 is a good bet.
Yeah, no, I mean you're trying to sell me on it. I think the Niners blow them out. Like,
Just disciplined teams, man. I get two disciplined teams, then we start talking about talent. But right now, in a close game, give me the well-coached one. I've been saying the same thing all year long, and it really has worked out more often than it hasn't. The well-disciplined, well-coached team is gonna win more often than not, and you cannot say that either of those things about the Cowboys. Certainly not about Mike McCarthy. Dan Quinn, I give a lot of credit to. Mike McCarthy is one of those Rex Ryan coaches where he's more of a motivator than X's and O's guys, and every team needs that. But unless you have an incredible quarterback, it's hard to win without a cerebral coach.
yeah, no, I'm with you, Woj.
Then when you
But
have both, like Reed and Mahomes or Belichick and Brady, then you're unstoppable. It's just that's the formula in the NFL.
yeah, I mean, I could see the Niners. I mean, obviously, right, it's not a hot take by any means, but I like them to. I feel like everybody's talking about the AFC teams a lot for as far as who's going to win the Super Bowl. I think the
Mm-hmm.
Niners are right there. But
Yeah, I was thinking. No, I said it when we first started these. When we did the divisional round, or maybe it was Week 18. I said my hot take is I think the Niners win the NFC
yeah,
Championship. I don't know if I believe that anymore. And nothing's changed to make me think that. I just think that they go into Philadelphia. It's going to be an incredible game, and I think I got to take Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy there. Let's see what happens, but I think that's what's going to happen.
yeah,
I think it's going
fair
to.
point.
I'm really hoping for an Eagles Niners. That would be the most entertaining for me. I think the world, and I think we'll talk about it next week if it happens. But I think I'm giving the edge to the Eagles in that game. Just looking ahead, it's just something about it. I don't know. It's two good defenses, really good top two defenses. These guys are insane.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens. Hopefully, things work out and I get the game that I want in the NFC Championship. And no one's going to complain about a Chiefs Bills or Chiefs Bengals game either. So we should have a really
as
good.
long as the Jags don't win.
Yeah, we just hope no Jags. We're fading the Jags and we want the Niners. I don't think I'd be surprised if the Cowboys win this game. Truly, I really would. They'd have to play really well, or Brock Purdy would have to be
Yeah, you'd have to
true colors, 1 or 2, but
one done.
games.
But yeah, all right. We don't have a card this week. All the our leans were highlighted in the video, so we're just gonna wrap it up with our promo.
Yeah, check
Go
the
in.
Twitter page too for our official picks. Steve has been killing it with college basketball. Check out our Twitter page for this next college or just NFL picks as the season keeps going.
Good shout out, Woj. But yeah, check it out at Profit of Picks. Been posting a lot of college basketball in there. Been doing pretty well, or especially since the new year, we've been hot. But let's wrap this one up. We have our promo with prize picks. You see it on the left, they'll match your first deposit up to $100 using the promo code PROPICS, the daily fantasy app, so you can use it in betting illegal states. And essentially, you just parlay player props together. And it's really popular on Twitter. They have in-app promos that you don't have to sign up for, where they'll cut the player's point total. You take the over. Give it a look if you haven't already. But wish everybody good luck this week. And any last notes from you, Woj?
Yeah, just really hoping for a great week of football. Like I said, I'm really intrigued for these NFC games. I think they're going to be the good ones. And I just really want to see that Eagles Niners showdown, quite honest. And whatever AFC matchup it's going to be, as long as it's not the Jags winning, which again, we'd be
Yeah.
shocked. It's going to be a good game. I was really, I think the Eagles or the Niners, while they're not better than those AFC teams, could beat like in any one game showdown, like the Super Bowl, they could beat anybody, both teams. So
Right.
I'm really intrigued. It's a great playoff so far. It's gonna be continue to be a great one, and I think it's gonna be a really special AFC NFC Championship round and Super Bowl too. I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, it's been a great start to the playoffs.
I mean,
With that, what's
how
that, Woj?
often is it? It's not that common where I think you could realistically say if you said one of five teams, that being the Bengals, Bills, Chiefs, Niners, or Eagles, if you said one of those teams is your Super Bowl favorite to win, you're not crazy by saying that. How often is it there's five teams realistically left out of eight, and you can maybe even throw the Cowboys in there if you're getting crazy that you could see realistically winning the Super Bowl. It doesn't happen all the time. It's just great for the NFL and great for the fans that there's more disparity in the league, more talent spread out, and more contenders. Quite honestly, it's great. I've been loving the season so much.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen that with the NBA too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much better when there's a competitive league. You got like five, six teams that can win it.
Definitely, definitely. All right, I'll
Yeah.
see you guys back in the NFC and AFC division or conference championship rounds. We'll see if our picks were right, and we'll have more picks and predictions next week for you.
All right. Good luck, everyone.